This is how we gonna start it off. All right, we got a bunch of live service news to discuss on the show. Here's where we're gonna kick it off. Surprisingly, the developers of Call of Duty are reportedly working on something that's not Call of Duty, but also Call of Duty developer Sledgehammer has seemingly been working on an action RPG, but I'd be shocked if it's still alive. It might be dead, unfortunately. All Sledgehammer games has known in its 16 years of existence is Call of Duty, from leading the charge as the main developers on games like Advanced Warfare, Vanguard, and 2023's Modern Warfare 3, to assisting other Activision studios on several other COD titles. FPS games are its bread and butter. However, I'd argue FPS games are not even as bread and butter Call of Duty is, like, because you're not making different types of FPSs. But anyways, however, it appears that another surprising project has been in the works at Sledgehammer. While never officially announced, LinkedIn sleuths have spotted a reference to an action RPG in development at the California-based studio. However, it's not clear if it's still being worked on or if it's fallen by the wayside. Let's hope that it is still being worked on. Free the developers. Free the developers. Free the developers from the shackles of capitalism. Let them do something creative. Sledgehammer often feels like the least appreciated of Activision flagship COD studios, just because they haven't made a good game. That's why. Out of all the games that they've made, I think the best one, in my opinion, was, some people might say Advanced Warfare. Some people, there's a small fan base that likes Advanced Warfare. I personally thought that, like, Vanguard got too much hate. I think Vanguard was just nothing mind-blowing, but it was an okay shooter. And this game is just fucking awful, Modern Warfare 3. But like, they haven't made a particularly great game. They just made okay COD games. Anyways, Infinity Ward kickstarted Call of Duty's mainstream dominance with the Modern Warfare series. Treyarch gets the plaudits of creating zombies and delivering memorable moments in the Black Ops series. Raven Software has a history of FPS games that spans 4 decades and now holds the keys to Call of Duty Warzone. I feel like Sledgehammer, despite its involvement with so many great COD games over the years, often gets overlooked. Even though it spearheaded the excellent jetpack-infused Advanced Warfare and the solid World War II, it was recently dealt a dud by having to take the lead on Modern Warfare 3, a game that was always set up to essentially be a glorified expansion of Infinity Ward's middling Modern Warfare 2 from a year prior. Now it's best remembered for having probably the worst COD campaign of all time. As an example of how COD, like, capitalism can ruin everything. Because remember, it was supposed to be DLC. They said, hey, come in, develop this DLC for Modern Warfare 2. And then last second, Activision was like, make it a full game. And because you guys don't know the names of the suits, the studio gets blamed. Despite that, Call of Duty will undoubtedly remain Sledgehammer's core focus in the future. Even in an underwhelming year, a new COD is still reliably one of the best-selling games, but it seems that Sledgehammer has its eyes on something different, an action RPG. As spotted by Reddit user OKEconomy2800, former Sledgehammer creative director Ben Whatnot mentions the project in his LinkedIn profile experience section. I'm not gonna lie, this is like one of the weirdest segments of gaming, right? Like the whole, looking into the code of a game and finding characters that haven't been announced. Like, that's the one thing, because it's like gaming related, but like people who actively stalk people's LinkedIns, kind of weird. But anyways, created a news story, I guess. Whatnot, who has previously held similar roles working on Dead Space series and Tomb Raider games, left Sledgehammer last year after a 6-year stint at the studio. However, while his LinkedIn page does mention that he assisted on the creative direction of Call of Duty Vanguard's campaign components, his main focus appears to have been establishing this RPG project. Let me make sure my filters are on. It is. Okay. Creative director for an unannounced action RPG, Whatnot's profile reads, his duties include franchise planning, pitching, hiring, planning, directing prototypes and world location layouts, creating concept art and assets for cultures and environments and characters, and writing more lore books for worlds, cultures, and languages. Now, to me, action RPG screams a Diablo or Path of Exile-esque experience, but the definition stretches a lot more widely these days to encompass any role-playing game with deep combat systems. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, when I first heard action RPG, I don't think Diablo, I think like Witcher 3. Shit, you could throw Cyberpunk in there, even though it's a first-person shooter. It is an action RPG. Like it's like, it could be a lot of things. So it's hard to say exactly what kind of project this is. However, with the focus on lore books with the span of different cultures and languages, it sounds like an incredibly deep world is being crafted here. Yeah, when I hear lore books, I'm getting like Fable vibes, some type of fantasy type shit. As whether this project is still in development, that's anyone's guess at this moment. With Whatnot left the studio to make his own studio, the COD series consistently high content expectations and short timelines, and Activision overlords at Microsoft recently canceling plenty of first and third party projects due to budget cuts. I struggle to see a world where Sledgehammer is still working on this. I do also wonder, given Activision's penchant for studios assisting each other in development, if Whatnot's work has anything to do with the currently nameless narrative-driven IP in development at Elseworld Entertainment, a new studio Activision formed in Poland 2024. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say there's a high probability. I'm not gonna say that it is dead, but it's probably like an 80% chance this game is dead, unfortunately. Reason being, there's two reasons. It's like they said in the article, Microsoft recently canceled a bunch of projects, and then two is because Sledgehammer is like the redheaded stepchild of the Call of Duty family. Like I said, when you think of Call of Duty, the first thing you probably think of these days is Treyarch, then Infinity Ward, and then Sledgehammer. So because they're kind of like in last place in terms of clout within Activision and the Microsoft umbrella, naturally they're gonna get put on side projects like Modern Warfare 3. And then when they try to develop their own thing, if Microsoft doesn't 100% believe in it, they'd be like, if Treyarch and Sledgehammer are both working on something original outside of Call of Duty, and Microsoft comes to both teams and says, hey, we only got budget for one, who you think's gonna get cut? It's most likely gonna be Sledgehammer's project. So like, I'm not saying this game is dead. I hope it is alive, actually, because I would love to see them do something different. Free all the Call of Duty developers, but there's a high probability. There's a high probability due to corporate bullshit. Yo, shout out to DD and Killer Mac with the subs. Appreciate you. Yeah, they're literally stuck in an endless nightmare, which is unfortunate. So that's my little Call of Duty update you got. What I will say before I move on, what I will say is, if at some point Sledgehammer comes out and they announce that they have some type of original action RPG, remember where you heard it here first. Just don't hold your breath. That's my first piece of live service news for you. We got a bunch. Other live service news. The last great COD they made was Black Ops 3, in my opinion. Well, that was Treyarch. That wasn't Sledgehammer. Other live service news. Live service game success depends on limiting the churn more than the huge launches, an analyst says. New research suggests that the biggest challenge facing live service games today, there's too many fucking of them, is not getting players in the door, but keeping them there. As the market becomes increasingly crowded, the long-term success now depends on far more on retention than on splashy launches or expensive marketing campaigns. I tend to agree with this. I think especially any indie developer would be happy to have a steady 20,000 people playing their game like every night. Like, you don't need 1 million people playing your game. You just need a core audience. That's why some people, they'll say like Fortnite is dead. I'll be like, no, it's not. It has a core audience that plays that game. As long as you have that, and they're spending money, you're okay. For players, this explains why so many online games feel like they're constantly asking for your attention. According to Ampere Analysts, a London-based market research firm, most live service games like Fortnite, Roblox, and Apex experience heavy churn, with large portions of their audience dropping off within months. That makes it difficult for even well-known franchises to sustain momentum if players do not feel compelled to return regularly. In that environment, attracting new players can be costly and inefficient if the game fails to hold interest beyond the early hours. Which further proves my point on that I've been making on the stream for the last few months. Gaming is not dead for all the ball and gun gamers that love to claim this shit. The biggest problem with gaming, outside of the microtransactions and poor business practices, is the lack of advertisement for whatever reason. Whether they spent all the money on the game development so they didn't have enough to advertise the game, or some other reason, visibility is the biggest problem. And another part of the reason why visibility is a big problem, it's just more competition than ever. There's too many fucking games. Matter of fact, an example of this is one we're going to talk about right here. Highguard, which I'm going to get to in a second. It's just a lot on the market. So I think right now, the most important thing when it comes to game development, I think this is across all games and all art, really. You want to be as creative and fun as possible and a proper marketing campaign. If you don't do that, you're gonna get locked in a sea of other things that are very similar, which I think a lot of people are unfortunately dealing with. And I think also, like, not the studios, but the publishers they keep trying to turn these out because they see how many one or two are making in terms of money, and they want that for themselves, failing to realize, listen, guys, dear publishers, because I'm not going to put this on the game studios. This is the publisher's fault. If everybody is on Fortnite, GTA 5 online, you could throw 2K in there, Call of Duty. Like, if everybody's on 5 or 6 live service games, right? There is no space for anything else. So you probably should think about creating a fun co-op game, a fun story game, something creative, because we don't have the time, the capacity, or the money, the mental capacity or the money to play all these games, bruh. So you better make sure your shit is addictive. You better make sure your shit is addictive. How's Highguard doing? It's doing terrible. Let's see. It's doing terrible. And it's unfortunate too, because I'm starting to see, I've been watching the timeline today. I'm starting to see a switch in tone. Like yesterday, yesterday was fucking bad, dude. Like, people were dunking on this game and the conversation was weird. This morning it was at 15, so now it's at 16. So like, for them, if they could stabilize at like 20 to 30,000, if they could build up some good rapport, that would be good for them. Because it's an indie studio. This is not a AAA studio, right? So this is not a terrible position to be in, but they need to retain the people that are interested in it in order to maintain some type of, because you can come back. Look at Cyberpunk. Look at, what's the name? No Man's Sky. You can 100% come back. 90% have no valid criticisms. Yeah, so like, I've been studying, and we're gonna get to this article. This is a perfect segue. I've been studying the Twitter timeline today, and it's been much more, I don't wanna say positive, mixed, right? A lot of people are saying what I was saying. I never said this was gonna be the next big thing. I never said it was gonna be the greatest game. I said I had fun with it, and that's not a lie. I stand on that. I will die on that hill. I had fun with it. But I did say the biggest problem with this game is the game mode is very unique. Matter of fact, I put 8 hours into this game yesterday, and in the 8th hour, I was still learning something new. So imagine somebody with a 6th grade reading level. They play 1 or 2 games, they're like, I don't get it, bro. Fuck this shit, bro. So because I think the learning curve is so high on this game, that's gonna turn over people, kind of like Lawbreakers. And then 2, like I said, I've been studying the For You page on Twitter today, and I've noticed the reviews have been much more balanced in terms of the criticism. A lot of people are saying more of what I'm saying. I'd say it's a solid 7, 8 out of 10. I'd give it like a 7 out of 10. I'd say this game's a solid 7. It's somewhere in the middle. I don't love it. I don't hate it. But I've noticed on the timeline today, people have been much more fair and balanced with their criticisms. People are saying things similar to me versus yesterday. And I've been really paying attention to like the responses on really viral tweets. And it's been looking like, I have a theory. There's no way I can prove this, but we know that Twitter is like 75% driven by bots, right? But most of the time they latch on the conversations that have to do with real world stuff like politics. I think they latched onto this conversation because it was popular at the time, because a lot of the comments I was reading felt very bottish. It wasn't real criticisms about the fucking game. On top of that, a lot of the reviews, people were saying this game was made by Israel soldiers and all this other, like the craziest fucking comments. I do think this game needs to do more. Yeah, dead internet theory. Even Shroud said the game wasn't bad, just needs some fixes. This game could 100% be fixed because no one really hated the game. They were just mad because it was the last announcement at VGAs. It's getting really weird because on the flip side, Israel GPT, I saw that. See, I'm not making it up. Somebody else saw it. I'm like, yo, what are we talking about right here? Like, there's no valid criticisms of this game, bro. I think it's Jeff's fault, man. He showed it at the end of the joint. So this article kind of corroborated what I've been thinking. I'm like, I think it's primarily, don't get me wrong. If you play the game and you don't like it, that's valid. I don't care about that. I'm talking about the fact that if you go look at the Steam reviews, most of them are people who have 10 minutes or less on the game. And this article corroborates what I've been thinking. Highguard has a 78% positive rating from Steam players who actually gave it a shot. What? It's time to break down the data. Something really pissed me off about Highguard's. Yo, shout out to B Hunter with the sub. Appreciate you. Something really pissed me off about Highguard's launch. And it wasn't just the inconsistent servers. The servers didn't help. Yeah, and that's valid. That's valid. Y'all saw I wasn't making no excuses yesterday. That's valid. The servers have gotten better though, but at launch, and to be fair, I told them that. To be transparent, I told them the night before launch, I was like, yo, any creators that you want to play this, you should let us preload the game. It was like, oh, you should download it when everybody. I was like, okay. So yeah, you're valid. Trust me, I tried to warn them. As soon as the game launched yesterday, everyone raced to post Steam charts and that dreaded, overwhelmingly negative tag on social media. As of now, the Norm forum thread offers users the chance to predict the game's peak player count in the first week, and we can't truly judge a game from just numbers and graphs, especially ones so easily manipulated. It turns out if you look at the past review bombs from players who have hardly touched the game, Highguard stats tell a different story. Yeah, I tried yesterday with the homies, but it kept saying not enough players. I think that's server issues because we were getting into games pretty easily. I think it's just the server issues. Highguard sure had a weird marketing cycle. It gives you that, man. Let's just talk about the data. Get to the data. All right. Take a look at the Steam reviews and you immediately met with the angry red, mostly negative tag with 67% of players writing a bad review at the time of the writing. Read some of these, however, and you'll see that most have barely touched the game. People write utter nonsense with 0.1 hours of playtime. If you sort through them to find the actual players, however, the data looks different. I sorted the Steam reviews to remove any that came from players with under 5 hours of playtime. On the day of the game's launch, that feels like a good measure of people who have given an honest try and have come to an early verdict. The reviews turned from mostly negative to mostly positive with 78% out of the 921 reviews, which is what I would say. Like right now, I feel like it's a 7. Obviously, the sample size is much smaller, but it also represents players who haven't rage quit after one disconnect or already made up their minds about the game. This isn't a stellar review score by any measure, but filtering the results tells a different story to the negative tag plastered to the Steam page. It's the story of a game that's got problems, but it gets a lot of things right. A game that some players seem to enjoy, and its players listen to feedback and support it's going forward, could legion a bunch of loyal fans returning every day. I bet people were logging in so they could review bomb it. Oh no, they 100% was. Because when I was streaming it yesterday, the game had been live for like 10 minutes and it had like 3,000 negative reviews. They didn't play it. And I feel like that's an example of what I mean when I say oral history is important, because that part of history, if this game does flop, which unfortunately it is a high probability, you gotta be 100% honest, it's not in a good space right now. There's a high probability that these servers could get shut down. Do not forget the part when the game was out for 10 minutes, it had 3,000 negative. I've never seen that before. I was like, all right, bro, it's getting a little weird, man. It's getting a little fucking weird. But anyways, Highguard's launch had been chaos. Beyond the Strange Game Award debacle, anti-fans have review bombed it for no compelling reason, and the game even faced brief backlash after streamer Dr. Disrespect, who we're gonna talk about that too. We'll get to that later. If nothing else, Highguard's complex launch is proof that games are in a weird place right now. Fans will review bomb because of a weird trailer that they were coaxed out of a dev team by a man trying to fill his pseudo award show. Yeah, I think the biggest problem with, this nigga Jeff fucked them over, bro. Operation Blame Jeff Keighley. Operation Blame Jeff Keighley, man. I think I've been saying this for like the last month. I think the response for this game would have been completely different if this trailer was in the middle of the Game Awards instead of saving it for the very last thing. Because the moment people saw from the creators of Apex, they wanted, or Titanfall, they wanted to see Titanfall 3. And unfortunately, because people can't read, they don't know this is a new studio that doesn't own the Titanfall IP. It's a new studio. Do you think the devs are going to ask Jeff to leave them off for that last spot? Do you think the devs are going to ask Jeff to leave them off of that last spot? Yeah, you know what? That's fair. That's valid. Unfortunately, Jeff offered them because it's an indie studio. It's their first game. And unfortunately, Jeff made them an offer that they couldn't refuse. Because imagine being a new indie studio. You don't really have a budget for marketing. And then Jeff comes along and says, I'm going to give you the last big spot. So it's both their faults. It is. That's valid. Maybe they should have thought about that. I think maybe if it stayed at the end, maybe don't include made by the developers of Apex and Titanfall, maybe. On top of that, like 80% of the devs not being from Respawn in the Titanfall series type shit. Now we're gonna get to the Dragon Ball stuff. So let's talk about Jeff. So I thought that was just interesting. If you filter through the data and you put on Steam, and you could go do this yourself because I did it. If you put it to people who've played 5 hours or more, you'll find that people actually like the game. This game got review bombed, unfortunately. The servers at the beginning didn't help. But anyways, other story relating to this shit. Jeff Keighley forced to declare he has no financial stake in Highguard as he was swarmed by unhinged haters. The hatred for Jeff has got to be studied, because I'm gonna be honest, I don't really be agreeing with his takes, but like I don't have like any hatred or like vitriol for this nigga, bro. I don't get it. Like, yo, Twitter hates this nigga, bro. Highguard has been out for about 24 hours now, and surprisingly, one of the people getting flack for this perceived slight of his existence is Game Awards host Jeff Keighley. Wildlife Entertainment had originally planned to shadow drop it. Yeah, I think they should have shadow dropped it, man. It's Apex Legends' spiritual successor before Keighley approached them about featuring it in December's award show with the Pimp Shot. And now that the game is out and people are having passionate reactions to it, the host has been getting an odd amount of hate for it. Thoughts on Highguard? And then they were just, if you haven't seen this tweet, they were just fucking shitting on him. Some of it is unwarranted, for real. Yeah, because to be fair, like, he seems like a nice guy that just wants to put on a show. And sometimes he has missteps, you know, maybe too many ads on the Game Awards. But like, and I could be wrong. Off the top of my head, I don't remember Jeff being involved in any type of controversy, any crazy controversy. It's literally they just hate him because of his gaming takes, I think, which is a weird reason to hate somebody. You could disagree with it, but like to hate them, that's a powerful thing. Shit's weird. Shit's fucking weird. Yeah, it's toxic. You can check the replies to his tweet for some unhinged responses, but I've also seen some pretty wild accusations that Keighley has some type of financial stake in Highguard's success. He even responded to that line of thinking on Twitter saying, LOL, absolutely not. So what it seems like the situation we have here is with Jeff, the reason he showed it on the Game Awards is because he got to play it early and he just genuinely liked the game and he just wanted to show an indie studio. He wanted to show them love. And unfortunately, it didn't resonate with the people. Part of this probably stems in part from Keighley's sometimes teary-eyed enthusiasm about some games he's shown at the Game Awards having become a meme in and of itself, and Highguard's show closing placement in last year's award show. So people are starting to... you remember where you heard it here first. I feel like I was the first person to really say this shit. People copying my takes. Freaking, I feel like I was the first person to say if this did not show at the end of the Game Awards, it would have been received differently. I just think that they should have dropped something of substance so people can't say things are a bland and Apex Arenas clone. Well, that's why I said it's kind of hard to gauge because it's getting review bombed by bots, I think. Like, it's okay if you played it and you don't like it, but when the majority of the reviews are 10 minutes long, they've only played the game 10 minutes. How can I take, I'm gonna be honest, how can I take y'all? Let me give y'all perspective. Let's keep it a buck. If I sat on this stream and I only played Neo 3 coming out, or, I'll give you a better example, Resident Evil 9. If I sat on the stream and only played Resident Evil 9, and then I got on Twitter and I got on my stream and I said it was shit, a lot of you would unfollow me, right? Oh, I can't trust TBH anymore. He's not valid. But for some reason, it's okay for you, the everyday person, to do that. Just some food for thought. It's okay. For some reason, it's okay. If you played the game and you said you didn't like it, that's valid. You put some time on it, you didn't like it, it's free, that's valid. I am talking about, can someone explain to me how a game was out for 10 minutes and it had 3,000 negative reviews? It never got a fair shot. I don't see what's up for debate with that. I think this conversation is going to have nuance, and I'm going to go ahead and predict 5 years from now, if this game dies, people are going to be like, oh man, was this game really that bad, or did we not give it a fair shake? It's going to be another one of these bullshit. And because I'm going to be honest, I don't understand the hatred for this game. If you played it and you don't like it, that's fine. Concord, I understood, because Concord cost $40 and it was uninspired. This was free. It was free. Just try it. If you don't like it, move on with your life. Well, not everyone has a dog named Akamaru. True. I don't know if that has to do anything. Man, fuck it. Bring back hoods and outlaws. What does that have to do anything? What should be the proper time to have a worthy opinion on the game? At least an hour. And that's another thing I was going to bring up. They need to tweak the Steam review system. You have 2 hours to return, at least 2 hours, I think, because you have 2 hours to return the game on Steam before. If you put more than 2 hours on Steam, you can't return it for money. So maybe at least 2 hours before you give an opinion. Because 10 minutes on a multiplayer game is you literally played. By the way, if you haven't played Highguard, the games take on average like 20 minutes. So 10 minutes is you didn't even finish a match. You didn't bother to learn the game. Ew, my fucking bot is on. Let me turn that shit off. It still got that shit on. 1 second, y'all. You didn't even bother to learn the game, but you wrote a whole 10-page paragraph about what you think. Or maybe humans really that weird. It could be that too. It could be that too. They just played the tutorial. Yeah, the tutorial's like 10 minutes. You didn't even get into a game. But I think it's funny that they're accusing him of shit. Let me turn that off real quick. I think it's funny they're accusing this man of having a stake in the game. He didn't have a stake. He just liked it and fucked up. Facts. Half the Steam reviews I see are people just memeing it. I say at least 5 to 6 hours. I think it's interesting the data changes when people have 5+ hours on the game. Because like I said, I had 8 hours on the game and like I kept learning new things about it. I kept finding things that I liked, and I also found a bunch of things that I didn't like. Like the ice dude, he needs to be balanced. I think it's too easy to plant the sword. So I found more things that I liked and you got to keep playing it to write reviews for it. Also, they're going to treat, all I'm saying is if I would have sat on the stream and played Resident Evil 9 for 10 minutes, y'all would have unfollowed me. But for some reason, you at home are allowed to do that. Just some food for thought. Just some food for thought. 10 minutes, they just waiting in the queue and didn't even play. Now, if the servers were fucked up and you weren't able to get in and you were waiting for 10 minutes to get in the queue, yeah, I can understand why you uninstalled it. Like, whatever. The servers were fucked up. I still don't think you should leave a review. I've been playing solo. It actually was a lot more fun solo than I thought. I have not yet touched it solo. I use Linux, so I can't really try it. Yeah, they got what's that shit called? They got the anti-cheat in there, so you can't use it on Linux. Man, I found each legendary weapon and got different perks. Like for instance, the sniper turns into a semi-automatic marksman. I got that. That shit was kind of fire. I uninstalled after 5 matches. You played a few, you didn't like it. That's valid. That's valid. That's valid. Hopefully it's a microtransaction situation and BBW microtransactions. Anyways, one more thing in regards to this yeah, we got a PDF file. We got PDF file news update, unfortunately. Speaking on weird hills to die on, Dr. Disrespect got caught in a lie. Before the game came out, he posted that he was at the event, and it turns out the developers came out and said that he wasn't. Now, as somebody who was at the event and got to play the game early, I can confirm this nigga was not at the event, bro. I would have noticed him. I would have noticed, because ain't he like 6'8"? Apparently, I already read this article. Apparently, he photoshopped or used AI to create a badge, a Highguard badge, to pretend like he was at the event. But the developers came out and confirmed that he wasn't there. And look, he got community noted too. He got community noted. So that's the gist of the article. I'm like, why would you do it for this game? Like, why not do it, wait it, and do this for like GTA 6? I get it. Like, ever since he got exposed as a pedophile, his momentum kind of died, as it should. Anybody watching him, shame on you, nigga. But why Photoshop yourself at this event? and this is what I mean when I say the fuckery that the Highguard developers is a perfect storm of just, it really screwed them over. And it's going to be interesting to see if they can overcome it. You got Jeff overhyping the game. You got ChatGPT bots review bombing on Steam. And then you got a pedophile acting like he got early access to the game. Yo, I'm not gonna lie. If I was a developer for this game, I'd be crying right now, man. I'd be crying right now. I'd be sitting at home like, please. You say he desperate? He the type of guy to buy himself birthday balloons. He really acting like he really did something. This shit is fucking weird. So that's the gist of this article. This is just fucking loser behavior. All I'm gonna say, because I don't want this nigga on my screen too much, don't act like this dude, bro. Please do not be like this person. I honestly feel like they need to take him to court for that shit. This is bad press, because the people were already hating and shitting on the game, and then you get a pedophile attached to your game. You couldn't. The last 24 hours have been very interesting, bro. Oh shit. Other live service name. I'd be crying. Other live service games. News, I mean. Epic Games is stepping up efforts on Fortnite's live service. So if you're still a Fortnite fiend, more shit is coming. As long as the devs and the CEO don't try to make a political statement somewhere, hint, hint. Yeah, they deserve their failure. Fucking Splitgate. If you ask most Fortnite players about the current state of the game, they'll probably be thrilled outside of the technical issues. Really? Who still plays Fortnite regularly? Are y'all fucking with it? I'm not in tune with it. I got 8 matches in. It's fun, but maybe a little shallow, but definitely a good game to play a few matches. See, I would disagree that it's shallow. I actually think it's a lot deeper and it's super. I don't agree with the people who are saying it's slow. It's actually very fast paced. What I will say is you do need a team to play and get the full game, the full experience, unless you just get some really good randoms. But you gave it a try. I'm not mad at it. But anyways, what was I about to say? Recent updates include a detailed Simpsons season with Springfield Island, along with major crossovers featuring The Office and South Park. Despite the onslaught of content, Fortnite designer director Ted Simmons says Epic is ready to step up its efforts. They said, we not letting this game die. We're stepping up our focus on live service games, Timmons wrote on Twitter. We know that we are prepared for an exciting season ahead of us. The underlying foundations of the game must still be stable. Timmons directed players to a thread started by a Fortnite community manager asking the community to report bugs and provide feedback. Players have highlighted a wide range of issues from replayed mode problems to game reload errors and regional server system settings glitches. While the new content has been refreshing, Fortnite has experienced a fair number of technical problems with this season. Issues with locker navigation and cosmetic application, boss map icons appearing without the actual bosses, and the ongoing voice chat problems have all impacted multiplayer sessions, which is believable. I mean, Fortnite has become almost too big for its britches. The last time I played Fortnite was when they came out with that update where you could create your own levels and stuff. I thought that was pretty cool. You could create your own games within the game, and I tried out some of the games that like fans were making, and they've added even more stuff. So like naturally it's going to introduce new patches and new issues into the game because they're constantly patching stuff. The more you play, the more you understand why 3v3 makes sense. Yep. Pretty much, because I felt like I was always getting into action with that joint. And then last but not least, this one got nothing to do with live service games, but I thought this was pretty cool. Some fans made a remaster on PC for Banjo-Kazooie. They're calling it Banjo Recompiled, now out on PC for support, with higher frame rates and mods such as BK Nostalgia. Damn, Banjo is 60. What the hell? What the hell? They combined Mario with Banjo? What in the earth 2 am I looking at, chat? He inside a PS4 trying to fix it? You can't, nigga. Newsflash. I got some news for you PS4 niggas in a minute. Downloading this to my Steam Deck. So technically it's a new game. You get the gist of it. What other features is it? Here, if y'all want to play it, there's the link right here. I'll drop the link in the chat. Get it before Nintendo gets it. It should appear in both chats now. It should appear in both chats now. There you go if you want to check it out. Don't act like I ain't put you on. Yeah, oh yeah, I did see that before we move on. Yeah, I forgot to save that. But yeah, you could play Super Monkey Ball in a web browser. Monkey Ball web browser. If you want to play another classic game. Let's see. I don't know the link for it. Good looks, I appreciate the link. Fucking load this shit, bitch. I ported, there we go. So this Twitter user, or Blue Sky, I ported Super Monkey Ball to a website. You can access it in the replies. Oh, here we go. Beginner Super Monkey Ball, start. Let's see if we can load it up. Excuse me. I wish I had a PC for stuff like this. Well, this is a web browser thing. Oh, you know what? It might block it because I got ad block on my shit. I got the Brave web browser here. If y'all want it, I probably have to disable my shit. I'm not going to disable my securities, but I just dropped the link in the chat if you want to try it out. Desktop streamer. I played it earlier. It was fun. Who would have thought we would be in a day and age where you could play a GameCube classic on a fucking web browser, man? But gaming is dead. Gaming